Hi, I'm Mitch with Englewood Camera, and today I've got Tamron's 17 to 28mm f2.8 full frame Sony lens. It's the only other fast wide-angle option for full frame E-mount other than Sony's own 16 to 35 G Master, which we already know is really great. And today we're at Denver's Union Station, which has a ton of awesome, cool architecture you can take a look at and shoot with these wide-angle lenses. Should be fun. Let's go check it out. So why is this lens so exciting? Well, Tamron's own 28 to 75mm 2.8 that they released last year is still on back order because that lens was such a hit. It was a good, lightweight, cheap alternative to Sony's own G Master 24 to 70 2.8, and it performed almost as well as that lens. This is Tamron's new 17 to 28, which is a good wide-angle alternative to Sony's own G Master 16 to 35mm 2.8, which is kind of big and kind of heavy, just like the G Master was for the 24 to 70. But now their 17 to 28 is smaller and lighter because it doesn't have that extra millimeter on the wide end. But 17 is still pretty wide, and we're going to test that out today in this cool place. So speaking of build quality, obviously we want to compare these two lenses together. The G Master feels like a G Master, and it better for the price tag. But the Tamron does not feel bad compared to it. They're both made out of plastic and they're both actually weather sealed. Both of them have a rubber gasket around the lens mount, which is nice. And in terms of controls on the side, the G Master's got a focus hold button that can be customized to do whatever you want. And it's also got an autofocus and manual focus switch, which is nice. The Tamron doesn't really have anything other than the zoom ring and the focus ring. Speaking of the focus ring, it feels a little bit better on the G Master, but not by much. The front filter size on the Tamron is actually the same as the 28 to 75. So if you are lucky enough to already own that lens, you don't have to buy new filters for that, which is kind of nice. The G Master has an 82mm size filter thread. Those filters can get expensive. In terms of the zoom, the Tamron actually has almost an internal zoom. The zoom still moves around externally on the inside of the lens, but it doesn't protrude past where the lens actually stops. So on a gimbal, that's great because you don't actually have to rebalance the lens. The weight does not shift at all. Although it's not sealed in there, it's still a nice touch. The G Master actually extends outward when I zoom. So when I zoom to 16mm, the front of the lens gets pretty heavy because that's where all the weight is on that front element. But other than that, both of them feel pretty good. But clearly the biggest difference between these two is the size and weight. And because the Tamron's only 17mm and the G Master is 16 and they're both f2.8, the Tamron can get away with being a little bit smaller, which I really like. And I'd rather take the 17 over the 16 with these smaller Sony bodies. Although the G Master is a great lens, I'm taking this one. So this is of course a native lens for full frame E-mount, but it's not made by Sony, so we need to test the autofocus and see if it's any good. We're using an A9, so the lens has got a fair opportunity to focus well, and if it doesn't work, it's not because of the camera. So we're going to test Kyle flying by on this bird thing and try and see if we can get every shot in focus at 20 frames per second. So one thing I've noticed with these Tamron lenses, this 17 to 28 and the 28 to 75, is they're good, but they're not quite as smart as the Sony lenses on Sony camera bodies. They seem to pick up faces and eyes a little bit quicker and better, and they're a little bit more reliable, I find, especially in the wide area autofocus where you're letting the camera do the work. Even though this is working fine, it's still quick and it's faster than a lot of cameras that I've used. It's still not quite as good as a G Master lens, but I wouldn't really notice much of a difference, especially if I had never owned a G Master lens. You're still gonna think this is crazy fast. It works well. All right, let's get to the fun stuff. I just wanna go take some pictures with this and show them to you guys. After shooting for a while with this lens, images on the rear LCD screen look great, but I wanna see them on a computer and really take a deeper look at them. Okay, so I'm here at the computer and I'm going to take a look at some of these images that we shot with that Tamron, and right off the bat I like what I see so far. It's definitely sharp, and in this first photo we're just taking a look at this chandelier that I focused on here in the center of the frame, which this is in the large main entrance into the Union Station, and this is looking pretty good here. Definitely sharp, wide open at 2.8 in the center. There is some distortion on the edges of the frame, and it is noticeable, especially with some straight lines, so be aware of that. And then we also have a little bit of color fringing here on these very backlit thin objects like these grates on the windows, but most lenses run into that issue, so that's easy to fix in Lightroom anyways. On to the next photo, we've got Kyle and Alan, my cameramen here, And plenty of sharpness down in this corner of the frame. I can see Kyle's got an A7R3 and a Tamron 28-75, and Alan's using an EOS R to film me. And we've got not as much distortion in this photo because it's not as noticeable with these kind of curved structures under this canopy in Union Station. So this lens performs in a lot of scenes that don't have tons of straight lines. I mean, this looks pretty good. This is the next photo. Again, looking at the main train area in Union Station. And here, since there's so much going on, it's hard to tell that there's any distortion at all. And in fact, it kind of makes this photo look cool. And this is definitely sharp again at 2.8 in the center of the frame on those railings there, and off here in the corner. Tons of detail, even down by this train. I can see everything going on here, so that's looking good. And the next photo, we're just showing a close focus distance here. You can zoom in and even look at the little LED diodes in this sign that lights up on the side of the train. And that's pretty cool. So this is looking good. I like what I see. Definitely not a perfect lens, but for $900, that's not bad. This is definitely sharp, especially wide open at 2.8. And you can pre-order this lens now. It's not available yet. It will be available at the end of July, but pre-orders are going on now. But I don't know, that's enough pixel peeping for me. I like what I see. I would definitely buy this lens, and I think we should get back to shooting. This is one of my favorite places to shoot here in Denver. It's perfect for a wide-angle lens like this Tamron. We're lucky to have this Tamron before it's even out, thanks to our friend Mark Morris over at Tamron. And if you want to see some of the images that we've taken today, the raw images, take a look at the link in the description below. And otherwise, thanks for watching our video, and we'll see you in the next one.